Salamat dengan hari semua. Saya Jacqueline Inte akan membantangkan analisis perbandingan Malaysia dan Filipina. Again, good afternoon everyone. Today we will discuss the comparative analysis of Malaysia and Philippines. Content of our analysis. We have structure of education system, curriculum and pedagogy, funding and resources, access and exclusivity, global competitiveness, best practices, and recommendation. Introduction. The purpose of this analysis is to identify the similarities, differences, and unique aspects in terms of education system between the Philippines and Malaysia. The education system of the Philippines and Malaysia are intertwined with unique features that mirrors the cultural, historical, and socio-economic context of each nation. This will be a systematic investigation constructing education systems of these two Southeast Asian nations with special reference of structure, policies, and outcomes. Structure of education system. First is the level of education, preschool, primary, secondary, and tertiary levels, and mandatory years of schooling. The Malaysia and the Philippines has almost the same levels of education. Preschool level, the preschool in Malaysia is not compulsory but is highly encouraged as preparation for primary school. It consists of 2 years of mandatory years of schooling at the age of 4 to 6 years old. Their curriculum emphasizes basic literacy, numeracy, social interaction, and motor skills. While in the Philippines, the kindergarten is compulsory because of the K-12 curriculum and it takes only 1 year. In primary level, in primary school, Malaysia and the Philippines have similar mandatory years that last within 6 years. In Malaysia, the primary education is the continuation of preschool that usually start at the age of 7 years old, while in the Philippines, usually start at the age of 6 years old. They follow the nationally prescribed curriculum in private and public schools. Also, in elementary education is divided into 2 stages. Stage 1 or level 1 covers the grade 1 to 3, emphasize the acquisition of reading, writing, and arithmetic. Also, they use their mother tongue in teaching. While the stage 2 or level 2 covers the grade 4 to 6. This level focuses on basic mathematics and science. Also, more allotted time in their national language, Malay, and in the Philippines is our mother tongue or Filipino over English language. And the same with the Philippines in 2022 to 2023, they adopted the mother tongue-based multilingual education from kindergarten until grade 3. In secondary level, the secondary education, the Malaysia is lasts for 5 years only. This stage is divided into 2 stages, which is the lower secondary level and the upper secondary level. In the lower secondary level, or Form 1 to 3, and for them it is called Menangan Leda. Students in this level are following the common curriculum, while in upper secondary or Form 4 to 5, and for them it is called Menangan Atas. In this level, the students can choose different streams such as academic, technical, and vocational or religious studies. And at the end of Form 5 or the upper secondary level, the students sit for the Sihil Pelaharan Malaysia or SPM examination, that is a crucial national examination for further studies. The students in Malaysia are required to take elective subjects based on their interests and future education program or tertiary. Their core subjects are Bahasa Melayu, English, Mathematics, Science, History, and Islamic Moral Studies. However, they take elective subjects like language, religion, humanities and social science, arts, ICT, and TVE or technical and vocational education. Compared to the education system in the Philippines, secondary education lasts for 6 years. Grade 7 to grade 10 is called junior high school, and from grade 11 to grade 12 is called senior high school. They are also core subjects that students are required to take, and these are mathematics, science, English, Aralin Panlipunan, and Filipino. Aside from the 5 core subjects, junior high school students also have another subjects to take, and these are MAPE or music, arts, physical education, health, values education, and TLE or technology livelihood education. In post-secondary education, for Malaysia, it is called the Form 6. This is where the students are organized along the lines of the Malaysia Qualification Framework and comprise training and education in academic, vocational, and technical, and skills setting. This is the equivalent to the senior high school in the Philippines, where the student need to choose their strand to make their skills and talent enhance. Also, this might serve as their training for their future education. The senior high school curriculum is conducting seminars, immersion, and real-life work experience. This curriculum is also convenient for those students who wants to have work immediately or want to be a working students. Some public and private school in the Philippines offer NC1 and NC2 for students to be able to hire immediately, while in tertiary education includes studies at universities, colleges, polytechnics, and higher learning institution. In Malaysia, higher education is significantly framed by governmental policies to improve research outcomes and ensure that the product of education meets the requirements of industry. A basic bachelor degree program lasts 3 to 5 years. Programs are offered in this area under both public and private sectors and attract quite the number of international students each year. However, the higher education institutions in the Philippines are either colleges or university are generally classified as either public or private. In the Philippines, 4-year programs are the most common degree courses of most universities, and the academic year in the Philippines divided in 2 semesters each year. It is runs between June to March or August to May. Depends on their calendar of the universities. Next is the presence of alternative learning system. In the Philippines, ALS was implemented because of the 1984 Philippines Constitution called the Governance Act for Basic Education, otherwise known as the Republic Act 9155, stipulates the establishment of the Alternative Learning System, or ALS, to provide out-of-school children, youth, and adults population with basic education. The same with the Philippines, the Malaysia also have an alternative learning program for those teenagers that serve as their education opportunities, especially on those street children, refugees, stateless children, undocumented children, and immigrants. In short, the Philippines and Malaysia have the same goal when it comes in producing alternative learning systems. Next is the curriculum and pedagogy. In Malaysia, the curriculum is designed by the Ministry of Education and serve as the core framework for all national schools in the country. The curriculum is rooted in the national education philosophy, which emphasizes the holistic development of individuals intellectually, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. Their pedagogy is standard-based, outlining specific learning standards and competencies that students are expected to achieve at each grade level. Also, beyond academic subjects, the curriculum emphasizes the development of 21st century skills such as critical thinking, creativity, communication, collaboration, and digital literacy. While in the Philippines, the K-12 curriculum is an example of the curriculum in the Philippines that emphasizes critical thinking, creativity, and framework. The competency-based framework encourages teachers to use interactive strategies such as group work, project-based learning, and an experimental approach whereby students become active participants. Next is emphasis on STEM, language, and vocational education. Let's discuss first the STEM system. Both Malaysia and the Philippines share a common goal of strengthening STEM education for national progress. Their approaches differ in terms of curriculum structures, specific programs, and the way STEM is integrated and specialized within their respective education system. They are both actively working to improve STEM education, but doing within the context of their own unique educational framework and national priorities. Next is the language. In Malaysia, the Malaysian education system adopts Malay as the medium of instructions, especially in public schools. English finds wide usage, especially in secondary and tertiary education, and in which many institutions offers programs in English to cater to a wide range of students. And vernacular school accommodate different ethnic groups speaking in Mandarin and Tamil as other language of instructions. Such a multilingual system would mirror the cultural and diversity of Malaysia and promote exclusive education aimed at allowing access to quality learning for students from different backgrounds. While in the Philippines, the pupils in preschool and primary level are using their native language or mother tongue, and Filipino and English in secondary education or secondary level, and recommended to use English language policy in tertiary level. And in terms of vocational education, in Malaysia, the vocational education is broadly referred to as Pendidikan Teknik dan Vocational, or PTV, which translates to Technical and Vocational Education and Training, or TVET in English. Within the TVET system, there are various types of institutions and programs, including vocational colleges, technical schools, polytechnics, community colleges, skills training institutes. While in the Philippines, we have the technical education and Skills Development Authority or TESDA that regulates and accredits these colleges. They may be public, generally operated by local governments, or private that constitute the majority of them. Programs offered differ a duration from a few weeks to 2 years diplomas. Courses can be technical such as automotive technology or computer technology service-based, caregiving, nurse aid, hotel management, or trades and welding, and etc. In obtaining diplomas or certificates, a student must complete courses and must take the TESDA managed exams at the end. Vocational colleges do not really conduct entrance exams, and for admission, high school records of students and entrance fees are in order. Indeed, many Filipinos do not have competence to pursue college-level education. Next is integration of local culture and history. Before the colonial era, the education history of Malaysia began with informal, community-based learning and influence of religious schools like Pondok and Madrasa. In British colonial period, introduced the fragmented system with separate vernacular language like Malay, Mandarin, Tamil, and English medium schools, often with unequal resources and aims hindering national unity. The post-independence era saw expansion of infrastructure, curriculum development, the growth of Tibet, private and international schools, and an increasing emphasis on STEM and ICT. While in Philippine historical threads, before colonialization, indigenous learning thrived through oral tradition and practical skills. In Spanish era, the Spanish rule introduced the structured, religious-focused system primarily for the elite, leaving linguistic and social divide. Next is the American era. In American era, usually the public school system modeled after the US with English as a medium or language significantly expanded access. And for post-independence, the nation sought for Philippine education, striving for wider access and quality improvements, leading to reform like K-12 program and the alternative learning system or ALS. Next is the technology and innovation technique methods. Both Malaysia and the Philippines are committed to leveraging technology and innovation in education. However, Malaysia currently appears to have a more advanced and widely implemented system, particularly in terms of infrastructure and national level platforms. The Philippines is progressing but facing more significant challenges in ensuring equitable access and effective integration across its diverse archipelago. But the Philippines has in recent years been embracing technology and innovation teaching methods to enhance learning for students. For example, most schools use online platforms like Google Classroom in class or out of it. Students most engaged in group projects using apps like Microsoft Teams or Zoom. Some schools and university are using visual presentation such as PowerPoint presentation. They also use whiteboards, projectors, internet connectivity, and for easy information.
Salamat sa jaran semua. Saya Cherilyn o Agravante dan saya akan memberikan sumber pendanaan dan akta serta inklusiviti Malaysia. Saya menggalakan Anda semua untuk mendengar dan memahami pembentangan saya. Terima kasih. Let's now proceed to the funding and resources. Now let's focus on the government expenditure on education as a percentage of GDP. So in the Philippines, GDP in 2023 is 3.62% according to the World Bank collection of development indicators. So the Department of Budget and Management announces that the education sector will receive 924.7 billion and it will be divided into DepEd, SHED, and TESDA. So DepEd will receive 758.6 billion pesos and SHED will receive 31 billion and its 116 state universities and colleges or SUCs are also given 105.6 billion pesos. While TESDA will also receive 15.2 billion pesos. So in Malaysia, GDP in 2023 is 3.62% according to the World Bank collection of development indicators. So the Malaysia government allocated education sector funds of 58.7 billion Malaysian ringgit or 779.5 billion pesos under the Ministry of Education. So the Higher Education Ministry will receive 16.3 billion MYR or 216.5 billion pesos, while the TVET institution in Malaysia will receive 6.8 billion or 6.8 billion MYR or 90.3 billion pesos. Next is the availability of school facilities and learning materials. In both Philippines and Malaysia, the school facilities are the classrooms, laboratories, sports facilities like fields, courts, and halls for physical education and extracurricular activities. There are also ICT labs, wash facilities, and multi-purpose halls. So, next is the teaching and learning materials. There are traditional materials in Philippines and Malaysia like the textbooks and workbooks, printed materials, reference books and encyclopedias, multimedia, digital learning resources, and online platforms which includes the websites, applications, and online learning platforms that offers access to a vast library of educational resources. There are also social media, radio programs, and podcasts, and also film and television as a mode or as a tool for learning. So the teacher-student ratios in the Philippines is 30 students per teacher, but it increases into 60 students per teacher due to the shortage of teachers and the abundant numbers of learners. So in Malaysia, teacher-student ratios is 13 students per teacher. Let's now proceed to the teacher's qualifications. In the Philippines, teachers should be elite passers and a license holder from PRC, be general, and there are also majors in bachelor degree in education such as the Bachelor of Elementary Education or BE-Ed, Bachelor of Secondary Education or the BS-Ed, Bachelor of Technology and Livelihood Education or BTLE, and a Bachelor of Physical Education or the BPED. While in Malaysia, for public schools, teachers should be a passer holder of Sijil Pelaharan Malaysia or SPM. It is Malaysian Certificate of Education and recognized as equivalent to General Certificate of Secondary Education O levels in Malaysia. So next is the completion of one of the following teacher training programs, like bachelor's degree in education, program Izaza Sarhana Muda Perguruan or PISMP, It is a 4-year bachelor's degree program at Teacher Training Institute after completing SPM and the primary route into public primary school. So next is the Postgraduate Diploma in Education or the PGDE or Diploma Pendidikan Le Pasan Ijaza or DPLI and Diploma Pendidikan Pasca Siswaza or DPPPI. So these are a 1-year postgraduate in education for graduates with a bachelor's degree in another level. This is often required for those aiming to teach in government secondary schools. Next is teachers should be registered at Suruhanjaya Perkhidmatan Pendidikan or SPP. It is a government agency in Malaysia that hires and manages teachers for public schools. And a passer of teacher qualification test. So it includes the Ohian Kelakayan Kalon Guru or an aptitude test before entering program Izaza Sarahana Muda Perguruan or the PISMP, and it includes the written assessments, teaching video submissions, and physical assessments. Next is the Malaysian Educator Selection Inventory, and there are also interviews, English proficiency tests, and teaching knowledge tests. So for private and international schools, a teacher should be a bachelor's degree or a relevant field often requires a teaching license or certification like international or postgraduate certificate in education or international qualified teacher status. Next is the access and inclusivity. So the policies on free education in the Philippines are the Republic Act number 10931 or the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act. Next is the free public education at basic education level, government scholarships and financial aid programs, alternative learning system or ALS, and early childhood care and development program. So in Malaysia, there is Rahman Talib Report 1960 and it is the Education Act 1961 or Education Act 1966. It includes free education to universal primary schooling under upper secondary school and the amendment of the previous policy, the Education Act 2002, which it includes free and required education for the duration of primary education or 6 to 12 years old learners and the provision for penalties such as fines or imprisonment for those parents who fail to comply. There are also subsidized tertiary education for public universities and it is also financial aids and scholarships. It is also include the Yayasan Pelaharan Mara or YPM for Bumiputera students, Public Service Department scholarship, and National Higher Education Fund Corporation loans. Sarawak's free tertiary education. Eligible Sarawak students can study for free at Sarawak's universities for undergraduate degrees starting in 2026. Next is the enrollment and dropout rates. So I just gathered the data from 2023 and in the Philippines, the enrollment rate in DepEd is 86.10. In CHED, there are 45.28%. And in TESDA, there are 31.72%. Meanwhile, the dropout rates in DepEd decreased by over 5 million students, while in CHED, there are 35.15%. In Malaysia, the enrollment rates for primary is 87.50% enrollees, and in primary there are 98.84% enrollees, while its dropout rate is 0.06 in primary. So in Malaysia, the enrollment rates for lower secondary is 94.19%, upper secondary 85.51%, in and in tertiary there are 41.26%. Meanwhile, the dropout rates in secondary is 0.83%. So take note po that I just include the available data in 2023. Next is the access for marginalized groups or indigenous population. In Philippines, there are several policies like Indigenous People Education Policy. The IPED policy, a DepEd initiative, aims to integrate indigenous and non-indigenous knowledge systems into the national basic education curriculum, promoting cultural interface and inclusion. Next is the DepEd Order number 32 series of 2015. It guides IP educators in developing culturally appropriate curricula, lesson plans, instructional materials, and teaching methods. So next is the IPRA or Indigenous Peoples' Rights Acts. This law mandates that education should be qualitatively and equally given to indigenous people. So in Malaysia, there is a federal law wherein in Article 8, Paragraph 1, it states that all persons are legally entitled to legal protection of law, includes the orang asli to enjoy the protection and benefits of the law, to have an access to quality education along with learners who are not part of the indigenous groups. Also provides that every individual has the right to education without discrimination based on the religion, race, descent, or place of birth. So persons with disabilities also had access in the Philippines that protected by these several laws. So first is the DepEd Order number 11 series of 2000, which is it mandate the establishment of at least one special education or SPED centers in each school division. Next is the Republic Act number 11650, or the Inclusive Education Act that mandates the integration of children with disabilities into regular education systems, ensuring they receive appropriate support and services. Next is the institutionalization of SPED program in all school or the DEX Order number 26 series of 1997, which articulates the adoption of inclusive education concepts in the different SPED programs. While in Malaysia, there are also Persons with Disabilities Act 2008 or Act 685, which it gives access to education of PWDs to let them have equal participation for their skills and intelligence. Next is the program Pendidikan Khas Integrasi or the Special Education Integration Program for segregated classrooms within mainstream compound. Next is the special education schools for students with visual, hearing, and learning disabilities. So next is the program Pendidikan Inclusive, PPI, which it is fully or partially placement in mainstream classroom in certain subjects. Next is the curriculum Pendidikan Khas Bermasala Pembelaharan, or the alternative curriculum for students with disabilities who had a hard time in national curriculum.
Selamat pagi hari, saya Sala seorang wartawan dari kumpulan Malaysia. Kami akan pimpinkan analisis perbandingan antara Filipina dan Malaysia. Saya Nicole C. Abyog dan topik yang diberikan kepada saya adalah Midani Pinalian dan Arkidatasi Daya sa Global. Terima kasih. Next is assessment and accreditation. For national examination and standardized testing, The national examination and standardized testing are conducted to ensuring quality, accountability, and providing data for improvement within the education system. In the Philippines, we have the ELNA, or Early Literacy and Numeracy Assessment. It is used to evaluate their proficiency in English, Filipino, and mother tongue languages across reading, writing, and numeracy skills. Next is the National Achievement Test, or NAT. It is assessing students' academic performance and knowledge in core subject. It is help identifying areas for improvement and monitoring educational progress, and provide information on the quality of basic education in the Philippines. In National Achievement Test, we have NAT G6, or the National Achievement Test for Grade 6. This standardized test is given to a grade 6 student in both public and private elementary school. It aims to measure their academic achievement in core subjects such as Filipino, English, Mathematics, and Science, and Araling Panlipunan or Social Studies. We have NAT G10, or National Achievement Test for Grade 10. Similar to NAT G6, this test is administered to grade 10 students in public and private junior high school. It's assessing their knowledge and skill in the core subject as they complete their educational level. It previously known as the National Achievement Test for Grade 10. We have NAT G12. It is National Achievement Test for Grade 12, or Basic Education Exit Assessment, or BEA. This examination is taken by all grade 12 students in both public and private school. It is designed to determine if graduating senior high school students have met the learning standards set in the curriculum, and to assess their readiness for higher education, employment, and entrepreneurship. It covers the 21st century skill in core senior high school learning areas. Next is the National Career Assessment Examination, or NCAI. This assessment is administered to grade 9 students to provide guidance on their interests and aptitudes, helping them make informed decisions about their future academic and career path in senior high school. In Malaysia, they have Sijil Pelajaran Malaysia, or SPM, or the Malaysian Certificate of Education, is the standard Malaysian secondary school leaving exam taken at the end of Form 5 student, marking the culmination of secondary education. What happens if they do not pass the Sijil Pelajaran Malaysia examination? And the implication of not passing the Sijil Pelajaran Malaysia examination is no SMP certificate. Without passing the compulsory subject, the Bahasa Melayu and Sejarah, and achieving the minimum overall standard, student will not have or will not receive the official SMP certificate. This certificate is often a basic requirement for entry into higher education institution and for many jobs in Malaysia. Next is the STPM, the Sijil Tinggi Persekolahan Malaysia, consider the Malaysian Higher Education Certificate, which serve as the university's qualification for students after completing their secondary education, essentially acting as the equivalent of the UK A-levels, allowing them to gain entry into Malaysian universities. Next is the SPMV, the Sijil Pelajaran Malaysia Vocational. The Vocational Malaysian Certificate of Education was the student and vocational stream. It has been replaced by the Sijil Vocational Malaysia, or SVM, which focusing on vocational skill and includes academic module. Assessment for SPMV involve continuous assessment and final assessment. Next is the quality assurance measure in higher education. First, in the Philippines, we have PACOCOA, Philippines Association of Colleges and Universities Commission on Accreditation. It is a private accrediting agency that accredits higher education, institutions, and programs in the Philippines. Next is ALCOCOA, Association of Local Colleges and Universities Commission on Accreditation. It is a non-profit organization that is responsible for accrediting colleges and universities in the Philippines, ensuring that they met the standard given by the CHED. Next is AACO, Accrediting Agency of Chartered Colleges and Universities in the Philippines. It is conduction on site to higher education institution to evaluate whether they met the organization accreditation standard. While in the Malaysia, they have Malaysian Qualification Agency or MQA. In Malaysia, the Malaysian Qualification Agency is responsible for quality assurance in higher education. Malaysian Qualification Agency is responsible, number one, to implement the Malaysian Qualification Framework or MQF as a reference point for Malaysian qualification. Number two, to develop, with the cooperation of stakeholders, standards and criteria for instrument as a national reference for the conferment of awards. Number three, to quality assure higher education's provider and programs. Number four, to accredit programs that fulfill a set of criteria and standard. Number five, to facilitate the recognition and the articulation of qualification. Number six, to establish and maintain the Malaysian Qualification Register or MQR. And lastly, to advise the Minister of Higher Education on any matter relating to quality assurance in higher educations. The work of MQA revolves around two major approaches to quality assurance in higher education in Malaysia. First is to accredit programs and a qualification, and number two is to audit institution or their component. The various approaches to quality assurance processes include periodic monitoring to ensure that the quality is maintained and continuously enhanced. We have document and guideline to help the Malaysian Qualification Agency. First is COPA, the Code of Practice for Program and Accreditation. It is a document developed by the Malaysian Qualification Agency to guide higher education providers in quality assuring their academic programs. It serves as a framework for evaluating and accrediting programs offered by the higher education providers. The COPA aims to ensure the quality and relevance of higher education programs in Malaysia, contributing to national goal of producing skilled and competent students. COPA also provides the framework for MQA to conduct accreditation exercises, ensuring that programs meet the required standards and are recognized as a quality program. Next is the COPIA, the Code of Practice for Institution Audit. In Malaysia is a guideline, a document for Malaysian Qualification Agency designed to assess higher education institution with internal quality audits and internal quality audit and by MQA. It's focusing on enhancing the quality of higher education institution profession through of self-review and assessment processes. COPIA also provides an overview of Malaysian quality assurance system for higher education, guiding stakeholders like provider, auditors, and policymakers. Next is the international benchmarking. In the Philippines, the 2022 Program for International Student Assessment, or PISA, the Philippines first participated in the Program for International Student Assessment, or PISA, in 2018. And the primary reason was to assess the quality of basic education in the country and benchmark. That's against global standard. In mathematics, the point of the Philippines is 355 points. Reading, 347 points. In science is 356 points. Overall performance, Malaysia significantly outperforms the Philippines in all three subjects assessed by PISA, mathematics, reading, and science. In mathematics, Malaysian students score 50 points higher in mathematics compared to Filipino students. This indicates considerably stronger performance in mathematics literacy. In reading, Malaysian students achieved a score that was 41 points higher than their Filipino counterpart. This suggests a better proficiency and understanding using reflection on and engaging with written texts. Science, the largest gap in performance is observed in science, where Malaysians score 60 points higher than the Philippines. This highlights a substantial difference in scientific literacy, encompassing the ability to use scientific knowledge to identify questions, acquire new knowledge, explain scientific phenomena, and draw evidence-based conclusions about science issues. Overall, the Philippines ranked 77th out of 80 countries, while in Malaysia participated in the program for international student assessment, or PISA, starting in 2010 as part of 2000 PISA cycle. The primary reason for participating in PISA was to gauge and benchmark Malaysia's education system against global standard and identifying area for improvement. Mathematics, they score 409 points, while I said a while ago, mathematics, in Philippines, our score is 355 points. Reading, 388. Well, in the Philippines, our score is 347 points. Science in Malaysia, 416 points, 116 points. Philippines, 356 points in science. While Malaysia, for overall, Malaysia ranked 55 out of 80 countries. The global competitiveness. Next is performance in global ranking. In the Philippines, in the World Competitiveness Ranking for 2024, the Philippines is indeed ranked 52 out of 57 countries. This ranking has been maintained from the previous year, meaning the country has not moved up or down in the overall ranking. And the 24 Global Innovation Index, the Philippines ranked 53rd out of 133 countries. This is improvement from its 56th position in 2023. Malaysia in the same index is ranked 33rd. In the Global Sustainable Competitiveness Index in 2024, the Philippines did rank 67 out of 191 countries. While in the Malaysia, in the World Competitiveness Ranking 2024, Malaysia ranked 34 out of 67 countries. This represents a drop of 7 places from its 27th position in the previous year. In comparison, the Philippines retained in its 52nd position. Malaysia is indeed ranked 33rd out of 133 countries in the Global Innovation Index in 2024. According to the World Intellectual Property Organization, this represents an improvement from its previous position, marking the highest ranking since 2016. The Global Innovation Index assessing the innovation and capabilities of different countries based on various indicators. In the 2024 Global Sustainable Competitiveness Index, Malaysia is ranked 31st out of 191 countries. Malaysia's higher ranking suggests a stronger performance in sustainable development and competitiveness compared to the Philippines. Next is for the contribution to international academic research. In the Philippines is particularly strong in agricultural research, largely due to presence of the International Rice Research Institute, or IRI, which enhances its global standing in rice research and development crucial for food security. Next, additionally, institutions like the University of the Philippines, or UP, contribute significantly to fields such as environmental sciences and health, with notable advancement including the development of locally produced diagnostic kits for disease like COVID-19. The country emphasized on collaboration with international partners further applies in research impact. The prominent example of Philippine research of De La Salle University, a Catholic co-educational research universities run by Institute of Brother of the Christian School that used by the other countries is research on seaweeds cultivation and processing, particularly focusing on the species Capipicus alfaresi, also known as the Cariginian seaweeds, which is widely exported for use in foods and pharmaceutical industries globally, with much of the research coming from Philippines universities and marine science industries. Is the contribution to international academic research. In the Philippines is particularly strong in agricultural research, largely due to the presence of the International Rice Research Institute, which enhancing in global standing in rice research and development crucial for food security. Additionally, institutions like the University of the Philippines, or UP, contribute significantly to fields such as environmental science and health, with notable advancement including the development of locally produced diagnostic kits for disease like COVID-19. The countries emphasize on collaboration with international partners for implies its research impact. The prominent example of Philippines research of De La Salle University, a Catholic co-educational research university run by the Institute of the Brother of Christian School that used by the other countries, is the research on seaweeds cultivation and processing, particularly focusing on the species Capipicus alvarezi, also known as the Cariginian seaweeds, which is widely exported for use in food and pharmaceutical industries globally, with much of research coming from the Philippine universities and marine science engineering. In Malaysia, Malaysians contribute to international academic research through several avenues, including number 1, attracting and educating international students, number 2, hosting international conference, and number 3, producing higher quality research paper. The Malaysian Education Blueprint aims to evaluate Malaysian higher education to benefit local development and also serve international communities. Additionally, Malaysian universities are increasingly being recognized in international ranking, further enhancing their global reputation and research contribution. Next is the partnership with international institutions. First, we will tackle about the Philippines. Philippines has established a wide range of partnership, particularly with United States, World Bank, and Asian Development Bank. It is encompassing economic, military, and digital transformation agreement. The key initiatives include the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, or EDCA, with the U.S., which enhancing the military support, and also Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity, or IPAF, aim at boosting economic ties. Additionally, the Philippines collaborate with international organizations such as United Nations and ASEAN to reflecting its commitments to regional cooperation and sustainable development. While in Malaysia, Malaysia's international partnerships are primarily centered around trade, environmental sustainability, and education. Malaysia actively participates in agreement under the World Trade Organization, WTO, and engaging in regional initiatives like the Asian Economic Community. In terms of environmental effort, Malaysia collaborates with the United Nations and the International Finance Corporation, or IFC, to promote sustainable development practices. Moreover, Malaysia education partnerships include a memorandum of understanding with UNESCO to enhance cooperation and education and science. Next is the best practices in Malaysia. One of the best practices in Malaysia is the curriculum reform focused on higher order thinking skill and STEM. The Malaysian Education Blueprint in 2013 to 2025 introduced the major shift, including a revised curriculum emphasizing the problem-based and project-based learning, critical thinking, and creativity. National exams were revamped to include at least 40 to 50% of higher order thinking questions by 2016, moving away from rote memorization. STEM education was strengthened and accelerated learning pathways were created for high-performing students. Next is the inclusive education. The system recognized the importance of providing for the diverse needs of students, including those with the special education needs, because we all know that our students has a different need, and also they have different style on acquiring a knowledge. They have different backgrounds. That's reason that the teacher need to using strategies like two-teacher model, where a general education teacher and special education teacher collaborate to support students with diverse needs. The Malaysian education system recognizes the importance of inclusive education. Special education programs and support services are available for students with special education needs and out-of-school youth. This program aims to provide individualized learning support, accommodation, and access to appropriate resources, ensuring every student has an equal opportunity to thrive academically and socially.
Next is the recommendation for Philippine improvement of education system. So our group recommends that school facilities in rural areas should be upgraded because some schools in provinces lack or had unsafe classrooms that forces them to take their classes at huts or under the trees. Facilities like comfort rooms, libraries, laboratories, and wash facilities had poor maintenance that needed improvement. So, next is prevent overloaded subjects to teachers to ensure the effectiveness of their teaching. Teachers also need time to breathe and prepare themselves for their next classes. Next is the 45 minutes of teaching per hour in Matatag curriculum should be revised as it is not enough time to facilitate the learning of the learners with quality and effectiveness. Teachers should also not let the students pass the subjects if they failed it or let them enroll to the next grade level if they are not qualified. Teachers should be strict enough to ensure that the students satisfy the standard competencies intended to them based on their level of intelligence. Include this due to the reports of 18.9 million Filipino graduates who are classified as functionally illiterate. Next is the allotted fund for the education sector should be distributed well to ensure that the education in the Philippines will indeed be the top priority of the country. So that includes our report about the comparative analysis of education system of the Philippines and Malaysia. Thank you, everyone.